CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 1, Part 6, Audio by Renee Matthew. We need to see what is the meaning of carbonization. It is the conversion of an organic substance into carbon or a carbon-containing residue through pyrolysis or destructive distillation. It's a chemical process which happens there, and it is often used in organic chemistry with reference to the generation of coal gas and coal tar from raw coal. This is a process. If you check for some videos, YouTube videos, you will get to know better on the process of carbonization, and that is how they study about the fossils. You will also know how it is converted and how they get to study about the fossils, so that whatever you read hereafter will be very clear to you. And in recent years, we saw that the occupations which actually was a part of speculation was gathering, hunting, scavenging and fishing. We saw that gathering did not have much evidence. Now we can go to hunting. So the term hunting was under a lot of discussions by the scholars, and it is suggested that the early hominids, that's the first form who actually walked on four limbs, from 4 limbs to 2 limbs they got converted. Do you remember the second one, the second figure? They scavenged or foraged. Foraged actually means collecting in a rough way, like they will go get it quick, and they will just gather it just like that, like animals for meat, and marrow from the carcasses, that is from the remains, the dead remains of the animals, the dead bodies of the animals, as you can see here in this picture, that had died naturally or had been killed by other predators. So this is how they do it, foraging. Just like animals, they do it and scavenge on it. So that was done by hominids. That is the second form or second species of the evolution. And some mammals, such as rodents, birds, of course their eggs, reptiles, insects such as termites, were eaten by early hominids. So all these were eaten by the hominids. Even now some people have all these things. But it was very peculiar to the hominids to have all these things. It was a part of their diet as well. Now next is hunting. And about 500,000 years ago, it is told that there is a lot of evidence on hunting. Even now, people are so fascinated by hunting. It has become a sport, actually. And there is a lot of clear evidence for the deliberate, planned hunting, which is done so meticulously and carefully, with a lot of skill in it. And also the butchery of large mammals. You know what is the meaning of butchery, like how the butcher cuts the animals before you go and buy it, right? So butchery was also happening, and it's not that these forms of humans were finding it difficult to do that, and then they had the food also. So you can see that Box Grove, Skoningden in Germany, these two places in England and Germany had evidence of hunting in these two places. Okay, these are the names of places, and the evidence was collected 500,000 years back and 400,000 years ago. So places are very important for you to write your answers also. Next is fishing, and fishing is also evident from the fish bones that was gathered. Like fossilized fish bones will also be received, and it is very easy for the archaeologists to find out whether it was a part of fishing or whether it was eaten and such kind of things. And about 35,000 years back, there is a lot of evidence on hunting from European sites, I told you just now. And some of the sites are Dolny Westonis in the Czech Republic, which was near a river, seem to have been deliberately chosen by early people. This is a particular spot or a kind of place where they chose specifically to do hunting. And herds of migratory animals such as reindeer, horse, probably crossed the river. So they chose this river because it was a place where migratory animals used to hoard, they used to take rest, okay, and quench their thirst. So because of that, it was very easy to even catch them from that particular venue during their autumn and spring migration. So that is why they chose this spot. And they were killed on a large scale, because when it is migratory animals, you get quite a lot of it. It's not just 1 or 2 animals that you can really get in a migratory population. They come as groups, right? So it is very easy to catch them and hunt them. And that too, they will come to the river. Definitely they will come to the river to quench their thirst. So that is why they used to choose this place, that is Dolny Vestonis. And the choice of such sites indicate that people knew something about these animals, the characteristics, the nature of these animals. And it is not possible to go and sit by the river all 365 days. You need to know when they will migrate. So how do you understand? Now we have got a lot of technology to understand when migration takes place and all that, because studies have been going on. This is something which happened 500,000 years back, and we don't know when it happened, when there was no technology to find out. So people were really skilled to find out when migration took place, and they knew something about the animals also, and on how to kill them without much weapons. They didn't have much equipments or anything of that sort then, and especially to attack large number of animals such as the reindeer and the horse. They are not very small animals. They are kind of medium-sized animals, and it is not very easy to get hold of them also. Early humans from trees to caves and open air sites. Okay, so where did they live and what was their abode, their home? All these things we have to see here. And we can reconstruct evidence from the archaeologists that there was a lot of pattern of residence. That is, they used to change place and they used to change their living sites. And on doing this, we can actually kind of get evidence from the artifacts, the remains, the art and all that is left behind on where they lived. Okay, so that is very obvious. You will be able to understand what are these artifacts, the remains, like for example the pottery, the jewelry that they used, the painting that they did on the cave walls and all that. So where do we find all these evidence? It is found thousands of, for example, tools and hand axes have been excavated at Kilomb and Olor Geseli in Kenya. So you could find a lot of tools in these two places, and then it dates back to 700,000 to 500,000 years ago. And one particular question that must be running in your mind is, how did these tools accumulate in one particular place? How could you just find these things? Does that mean that they lived only in this particular place? And it is possible in that way because food resources were abundant in these places. So it is natural that they gathered with their families or with their flock and animals and all that in a particular place. And it was visited repeatedly because of the food resources. And people will tend to leave behind the traces of their activities, what they did, suppose sitting around the campfire, including artifacts, making something, making jewelry or making earthen pots, all these things. So food is something which is very essential for anybody to survive. And a lot of deposits have been collected of the artifacts, and that always appears as patches on the landscape. It is very easy to find out the deposit of the artifact. It stays for a longer time, right? And the places that were less frequently visited would have fewer artifacts. Okay, so it is something very kind of logical to think of, which may have been scattered over the surface. So that is how they got all these evidence. Very easy point. And some locations could have been shared by hominids, other primates and carnivores. So there are a lot of locations which is shared by all these people, like evolution took place from the hominids to the carnivores. So there are a lot of locations like that. The figure is given in your textbook on that, where the same place was hunted by all these three groups. There is one nice diagrammatic representation of it in your textbook where they have given the diagrams and the labels and everything to make you understand that all these three groups visited these locations at three different times. Now, something about the caves, and this is really very interesting because between 400,000 and 125,000 years ago, caves and open air sites began to be used. 500,000 years back, it was like open air. Before that, it was trees. I told you that they were adaptable to climb on trees and sit there for a long time and even sleep there like the animals, the panther and the leopard. But caves was used later, maybe when they were not able to sit in the sun or in the heat or in the ice, whatever it is. So evidence of this comes from sites in Europe, especially there's a cave called the Lazaret Cave in southern France. 12 into 4 meter shelter was built against the cave wall. Okay, and inside they got the evidence of hearths, that is a place where you light fire, and evidence of hearth doesn't just destroy very easily. So evidence was collected, and when it's a cave, there is no chance that many people will visit the cave, right? It stays there for a long time, and when it's not prone to activities by the modern man, and much evidence of food resources were also collected from this hearth, from this cave, because people used to collectively sit together, and we saw the reason for that. It was because of the abundance of food resources. So the remains of food was also collected, like for example fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts and all that, and even freshwater fish, fossilized remains of it. And these three types of freshwater fish is given here: trout, perch and carp. You can look at the diagrams of it in the internet. And another site which is very prevalent with all these remains, one is Lazaret Cave and the other one is Terra Amata on the coast of southern France. Both is found in France, okay, southern France. Flimsy shelters. Flimsy means not very strong, which is made of wood and grasses were built for short term. It is not built for long term, maybe just as a leisure activity, like how we have the rooftops now, the tree tops and all that. So that was for seasonal visit. So you can just imagine how these people used to go for leisure activity, where they were like a resort, like how we do that now with the modern man, where you go for, just to relax. So maybe something like that, which was a short term purpose plan. And that was only for seasonal visit. So that all these remains are found in Europe, and the two places are Lazaret Cave and Terra Amata, both on the coast of southern France. Now look at these diagrams, the pictures and everything which is given here. Lazaret Cave, these are not found in your textbook. It is for you to understand. So this is what they found when the archaeologists tried to find something for the evolution of human beings. And this is of the hominids and the caves when they moved to the caves. And look at what they found: the hearth and the remains, the paintings. And some of it, what they do is, instead of leaving it there, they will just take it from there, like, very carefully they will take it and they will plant it in a museum. So this is something which was made for temporary seasonal visit, which is not very strong. This is the one I was talking about, the seasonal visit plan. Okay, so very interesting pictures which is taken from the file photos. And then pieces of baked clay, burnt bone, all these things were found, with stone tools also. So it is a huge discovery, a big, kind of combo discovery that they did. And it was found between 1.4 and 1 millions of years back at Chisowanja, Kenya, Swartkrans, in South Africa. So all these things were found in South Africa. The other two was found in southern France. So you should be very sure of what was found where. It is not that everything was found in Africa or everything was found in France. And was all these things the result of a natural bushfire or volcanic eruption? Because of course natural bushfire and volcanic eruption has taken place over time, right? And was it deliberate, controlled use of fire? We do not know. Like how this baked clay, burnt bone and all these things came. Like how were the archaeologists so sure that it was a result of a campfire? Yeah, it could have been that some volcanic eruption took place, or some natural bushfire took place, or some forest fire took place, because it is burnt and baked also. So we don't know how it came about, but we are very sure that it belonged to millions of years back. It is a possession or something which came millions of years back. Hearths, on the other hand, that is a place where you can have these production of fire and all that, the remains, are indications of the controlled use of fire, and lot of advantages was there for the early man to use controlled fire. One is it provided warmth and light inside caves, because caves are not very comfortable. It will be extreme. So it will be very, very cold in the night and could be used for cooking also. Okay. and then beside that it was used to harden wood. It was a part of their work to use fire for different purposes. And also, for instance, the tip of the spear, they used to use fire to make it hard. And of course, to protect them from the animals will be really scared of the fire. And the use of heat also facilitated the flaking of tools as important. What is the meaning of flaking? Flaking is to like flatten the tools. All the tools, like initially they used stones, or you can say round pebbles and such kind of things when they did not know how to use the tools. But after that, the early man understood. I told you about the precision grip and the power grip. When their hands developed, they also started using tools which was progressive. And they started sharpening the tools, like for example, chiseling, smoothing and polishing. That is the meaning of flaking, like reducing the size and thickness of the tool. As important, fire could be used to scare away dangerous animals also. So that is why they used all these things. It was used by the early man.